All right, thanks, everybody. So what I have here is some preliminary results from a survey that I have running right now. So some of you may have seen it because we've done some outreach to try to encourage participation in the survey. So many of these results that you'll see come from Digital Transformation Council members. If you haven't taken the survey, we'd encourage you to do it. Please do it. You can find a link to it in the description for this meeting on the app. So go there. You can take the survey. So a couple of points about the research. Another thing that we hear in addition to, we want to share stories with each other is we want to learn from each other and we want to know kind of what other people are doing. So this is a little bit of a way to try to learn about that. And hopefully we can, through surveys like this, help you learn, where your company fits with other companies. So that's what we're trying to do. There's also a link in the presentation, so later when we make that available, you can take the survey there if it's still open. So anyway, a couple of key things. I just picked out a couple slides, and again, these are all preliminary results, but a couple of points that kind of rose to the top. So we asked a question about organizing for digital transformation. And as you can see, we got a kind of a wide range of responses, but three kind of came to the top, and that is creating new roles to manage this, like a chief digital officer or digital transformation officer or something like that. So that's one. Another is to formalize a cross-functional working group and use that as the organizational means to try to drive digital transformation in the organization. And then another one that's pretty popular is to find a line of business champion for digital transformation and let the line of business drive the digital transformation. So that's some of the things we have there. I got some comments outside of the numerical results on that one, and they're interesting because they're kind of wide-ranging. Some are like, we got this. We don't need any digital transformation. So I think they could be in trouble. And some of them are like, yeah, we're struggling with it, or we're definitely know we need to work on this. So it's interesting. When it comes to digital transformation, what kind of targets do we see companies using? Well, the number one on the list is operating performance. Seems like there's plenty of recognition that that's the thing that they need to change. I mean, a lot of the folks we talk to are directly involved in that, so this may reflect that a little bit, but we definitely know that that's an important dimension here. Getting the right data and the data tools to the workers has become a really important thing right now. So that's another piece that we're trying to go. So agility is an important one, and sustainability is really getting quite up there near the top. So that's an important one too. So as you can see, there's a broad list of targets that we asked about, and somebody's doing all of these things, and probably some more as well. But there are some patterns beginning to emerge. We have this notion of a technology deployment S-curve that I just want to run through. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the process, if not the curve, which is some planning and then piloting and then scaling and then eventually you're fully deployed. So it's a pretty simple concept. The reason I brought that up is because some of the transformational technologies that we have include things like are listed here. So this is about 15 or 16 different technologies that we selected for this survey, and just to help you interpret it, there is the blue on the left is fully deployed, and the red is scaling. So you can see that for a couple of these technologies, including some surprising things like cloud-native apps and cloud application and IoT platforms. There are a lot of companies who've been responding to us, telling us that they're either fully deployed or already scaling these things at a pretty good rate. So we've got a lot of technologies there, and all these technologies, somebody's working with and somebody's working hard. So these things is part of the problem that we have to all confront. Is that not only it's not just one little thing that we need to do for digital transformation. There's a lot of different technologies to think about, and how do you get them all? Which ones do you start with? Which ones do you really need? So you can see, and another thing is that close to half, or in some cases over half, of the companies we've talked to so far are, if not already scaling, then they're piloting it. So this is all real, and it's underway with quite an array of technologies. Another dimension, though, to think about is those technologies that we asked specifically about using them in operations. But operations is just the bottom part of the diagram on the right. That's where you're actually building or producing things. But there's digital transformation going on in the design and engineering dimension, across the supply chain, in the business systems and outreach to customers. Existing and new service organizations are grappling with this digital transformation. And of course, the products themselves in many cases are changing as well. And we're seeing evidence from the research that companies are dealing with all those things. So we know why digital transformation is such a hot topic, because there's so many technologies and so many applications that we all need to integrate into our operations. And it's not a one-stop process. So who are the deciders for this thing? So we're doing some research on this as well, and there's again quite a few. So to read this, the blue on the left are the key deciders. The red bar is great influence, and the green bar is some influence. So you can see that for digital transformation, even though a lot of the activity is happening in the plant, the C-level is quite involved, and it makes sense because, especially in public companies, they've got the quarterly targets to hit, as well as, how do I get my company ready for the future? And that's what digital transformation is all about. So you see C-level is by far the listed as the key decider so far in our data. All other influencers are Chief Digital Officer and CIO, Chief Operating Officer, CFO. Plant manager's in there, so there's hope, but there's quite an array. So it's an interesting results. And again, you'll have access to this later, so you don't have to memorize it all today. So what areas are digital transformation programs yielding measurable improvements? Because sometimes when you're planning and piloting, you may not be thinking too much about that measurement piece, but indeed, companies are seeing increased productivity, reduced cost, better uptime, better quality and safety, and OEE. So those are all kind of the conventional ones you would expect in operations, but we're also seeing better customer outcomes, faster innovation, increased revenue, and faster new product introduction showing up on the list as measurable improvements. So I think that's encouraging because, while we kind of understand the top half of the chart, we've been doing that for a while, the big payoff may come from the bottom half of the chart. And for some companies, they're already there. This chart gets at an emerging problem that we're seeing, which is the data and computing resources problem. As we start to think about introducing cloud into our IT and OT systems, and considering the possibility that we may have applications and data that should be at the edge or should be at the data center or should be in the cloud somewhere or multiple clouds. Companies are starting to recognize that, yeah, they should start paying attention to better managing the data and computing resources at the edge and between the cloud and the edge and between the data centers and the edge and in the data centers and between multiple clouds and the data centers and among multiple clouds and in the cloud. So there's a lot of potential complication there. So and conversely, a lot of room to optimize the applications and data for where they should be to make things operate properly. There are a host of challenges, and we put together a list when we asked the survey. I don't know, there are 15 or so here, and I'll let you look at them later, but yeah, they're all challenges. Everybody seems to agree. It's not like one set emerged and the rest were discarded because, finding data scientists is near the bottom of this list. And last year, that was a pretty hot topic. It's still important, and people are still struggling with it. It's still a challenge, as you can see, but there are a lot of other challenges that every company is dealing with as well. So please take the survey if you haven't taken it already, and we can add your results to it, and then we'll wrap it up and then publish the final results at ARC and especially to the Digital Transformation Council. So again, there's a link here, but to get the link, go to the description of the Digital Transformation Annual Meeting session that you're in today, and there's a link there for you to click. So that's all I have for this part of the presentation.